It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder.
Hey, what's up everybody? Today I'm going to be reviewing Invaders from Mars. It's a 1986 remake of a 1952 film of the same name. And basically it's a rework of the same script even. However, I have not seen the original film. I've seen bits and pieces, and it's like really iconic, cool kind of 50s sci-fi stuff. I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure the original film's really cool for what it is, and I'm not sure exactly how it compares to this. This film was directed by Tobe Hooper, whom I reviewed another film he did, which was The Funhouse, a few months back. Please check that out. Tobe Hooper was infamous for directing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one. And, you know, being sort of a horror icon. You know, he did Poltergeist a few years before this. And he passed away last August. So, rest in peace, Tobe Hooper. This film, Invaders from Mars, was part of a 3-picture deal he did for Canon, which I believe was owned by MGM. It still is, or maybe it wasn't. I know it was big stuff back then. He was doing big pictures. You know, at this time he was given a chance, since he had worked with Steven Spielberg and did Poltergeist. So his 3-picture deal was Life Force, which is another sci-fi film, but much more of an R-rated, much more R-rated, kind of gory, bloody, kind of suspenseful film. The second film was Invaders from Mars. The third film is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And not to get too much into it, Life Force is really good too. I think it's a little better than this, and it's more what you're expecting. There's still some campy qualities in it, and a whole lot of nudity, basically the whole film. That's the thing with Life Force. And it's about space vampires in a nutshell. I like Life Force a lot, even for its flaws. Invaders from Mars I've never seen. This is the first time I'm ever reviewing this, or you know, seeing this. So starting off, this movie has a really interesting cast. It's sort of like a mix of like some B actors and a couple, you know, upscale kind of actors like Karen Black is kind of a not a lead in this, but she plays a big role. An Academy Award-winning Louise Fletcher, that's right, Nurse Ratched from One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is in this. James Karen from Poltergeist and Return of the Living Dead is also in this, and kind of kicks ass in it, and even upstages some of these guys, I think. Anyway, the movie starts out, and it's told the perspective from a kid's point of view, which the name of the kid is David Gardner. The name of the actor right now escapes me, but he's, you know, really interested in astronomy. The movie starts with him and his dad looking up at like a meteor shower, and they're talking about space and all kinds of stuff. And the next thing you know, they got to go to bed and everything, and he sees a spaceship land in this hill, you know, over this hill in his backyard. So he's freaking out like you see, you know, kids do in real life or in movies. You know, Mom, Dad, there's aliens, what's happening? They reassure him, you know, go back to bed, this and that. Next day, David notices his dad is acting very strange at breakfast. He has one slipper on, and he's acting very drone-like and showing little emotion. And that kind of stuff, and he notices there's like a wound on the back of his neck, like a pretty gnarly wound, and he's very suspicious of his dad. He's even getting ready to go to school, and his dad's trying to get him to go behind the hill in the backyard. So that's very strange. you know, he goes to school, and you know, he's like the troubled kid kind of. There's a scene where they're dissecting frogs, which just seems like it's. I guess they threw a lot of references to other movies. I think that's referencing E.T. You know, so in this movie, you know, the teacher's kind of this antagonist, which is Louise Fletcher, like I said, Nurse Ratched here, and he's very, you know, just kind of like being pushed by her in a way, and every little thing he does is wrong, and sometimes it is and isn't. He gets blamed for everything, and he's suspicious now that he's seen this spaceship. It seems like everyone's kind of acting different. There's a really infamous scene, I guess, for this movie where he sees Louise Fletcher. He's like sneaking up on her and kind of watching what she's doing in this like back room, and she's literally like swallowing a frog whole. And then she sees him see that, and then she's kind of like after him the whole time. Well, the only person he can really confide in, that's an adult at least, or really I think in the movie at all, it seems, is the nurse, the school nurse. I can't remember her name, but apparently that was his mom, Karen Black. So they, you know, that's kind of an interesting thing. But and she's sort of like the only one that can kind of help David get away from these adults, and she's kind of suspicious too. And like I said, it's told from this like kid's perspective. It's the original film, I guess, was very anti-communist. It was a sort of saying that. This is very, you know, can you really trust the adults, and what it's like to be a kid, and you know, authority figures seem like they're so, you know, devious and stuff. Very interesting kind of thing there, I guess. And then it turns out, you know, there's aliens sort of, you know, inhabiting all these people, and the wounds on the back of the neck are these like little implants, and they're sort of controlling everyone. You know, and he ends up getting onto a spaceship, and the military gets involved, and you know, it's, you know, that's kind of the movie. It kind of falls apart in a way in terms of the story. It's like kind of like a, you know, Invasion of the Body Snatchers with a little bit of an in War of the Worlds. The army gets involved. David just wants to get back to his parents. Well, he wants his parents back. There's a lot of fighting. It's an interesting movie. To get into like how I feel about the movie now, I absolutely love things about this movie. It, however, is not the best at all. It's weird because I know the intent was to make it sort of campy and like very like, you know, 1950s kind of monster movie trope kind of thing. You know, they were trying to make this campy kind of nod and played with those sort of cliches and tropes and stuff. But I think that there was a little bit of that in this, and there's a lot of unintentional campiness as well. The casting is very peculiar. It seems like you have good acting one minute, and the next minute you're like, what? And I can't remember the guy's name. The kid that plays in this, who plays David Gardner in this, is very unsatisfying. You know, and it's like, I know he was a kid, but, you know, it seemed like he had one look the whole time, and that's you know, just screaming and making this same face every time anything happened. Louise Fletcher's really good in it, as you'd expect. The mom and dad, to be honest with you, it's like I said, the beginning of the film really throws you off with this, like, at one minute it feels like it's a pretty good kind of classic film, and then the next you're like, why are they doing that? Some of the dialogue is very cringy. It just, like, some of the stuff between the nurse and the main kid is awkward. Like, it just sounds like there's some kind of weird thing where they're gonna bang, and you're like, but wait a minute, that's a child, and it's odd. Like, I think there's one part where she even says, you can have the keys to my back door, and it's just really weird. It's just really odd the way it seems, and I know that that's not the intent behind it, but that's what I mean. One minute this movie will have you, and the next you're like, what in the hell is going on? But this is fun. I enjoy it. I recommend it even, because for all its like weird flaws and bad moments, it is very entertaining. And let me say this, the cinematography, awesome. Tobe Hooper got, I think his name's Daniel Pearl, the original cinematographer from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, doing this. And oh man, love the shots in this. Also, I absolutely love the special effects. Like, some people may find them a little rudimentary or something. I say to hell with that. This is the way you do it. The aliens and the Martians and this giant, I forget the name, the Supreme Being or something, the Supreme Brain. I don't remember the name. It's like this giant brain, like almost from the Ninja Turtles, like Krong, or from the Ninja Turtles, Crane, I believe, not Krong, is kind of like this, the ultimate alien in this. But it's really cool. It's really cool all the way it's done. It almost seems a little bit like Total Recall's kind of effects. And so in those ways, it doesn't let you down at all. Technically sound movie, beautifully shot, effects are amazing, and they're done by Stan Winston. And then I guess Stan Winston left for a while to do Aliens, but still, you know, these were all designed by Stan Winston and ran by his guys. And you can see just, you know, things were pretty cutting edge for this movie. Like I said, though, I enjoy it. I think it's really cool, but it is very cringeworthy at times. You know, Tobe Hooper's career is kind of in this weird, it kind of seemed like he got shut down a lot. You know, everyone was kind of, it's pretty infamous that Tobe Hooper was not the most, I guess, assertive person on set. But you see, I watch a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and when you hear about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, though, it sounds like he was actually quite, you know, quite assertive and quite sure of what he was doing and everything, you know. But then you'll hear something like, about in this movie, it's like, oh yeah, you know, Tobe Hooper really wasn't in a good place then. And on Poltergeist, there was this whole thing about, for years and years after the movie, that, you know, this was mainly directed by Steven Spielberg, or Poltergeist was. And that seems very true, because the whole thing feels like a Steven Spielberg movie. But, you know, I don't know what the deal is was with Tobe Hooper. He was very, you know, good when he was good, and he was very bad when he was bad, it seems, with his movies. Again, I really like The Funhouse, and I really like Eaten Alive, and of course Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre too. So I like Tobe Hooper, but it does seem like he had a lot of problems with a lot of movies. I haven't seen a lot of his movies. Yeah, this movie, it has a good nature about it. Like I said, there's an honest sort of feeling with it. And this Blu-ray that was released by Shout Factory is really cool. It has a really good documentary about the whole thing, and you can kind of learn things. And Tobe Hooper even kind of, you know, says things. And one thing I want to make clear too, I kind of was let down, I guess, by my expectations, because I thought I was getting a movie like Life Force, and it was going to be more of like a horror film. But little did I know, I mean, I had no idea that this is like a PG, you know, there was no PG-13 yet, I think. So it was like a PG movie that was kind of meant to be for kids. But the problem is that it's not there's things about it that are too intense for kids, and I'm not going to say it's like gratuitous or really violent or has nudity or anything. It's just something about it don't work as a kids movie either, and I think Tobe Hooper was trying to do that with this, and it was just like, nah, this isn't a kids movie either. It's the creatures were just a little too, it was just a little too scary. You could see he was trying to kind of do his Close Encounters of the Third Kind, maybe, type of Spielbergian kind of movie here, but it feels a little too intense when it's intense to be a kid's movie. Again, I recommend this movie. I would say that it's, I'm not really a rating person, but I would say out of like 5 stars, it maybe gets 2. Like 1.5, 2. It's fun. It's worth watching because worst case scenario, you're just gonna laugh your ass off at some random stuff, and the effects are really interesting. So music's interesting too, for this kind of movie. Anyway, guys, I'd really appreciate it if you you know, subscribed and liked this.